Who is this who has disturbed my bonds? None have come here bringing sacrifices in ages. Let me look at you closer.
Welcome to modimakes.
Let me look at you closer.
It's weird taking myself this seriously. I'm thinking we really need to story this up, you know? Up the production value of this ramshackle operation.
But Mr. Mix!
Yeah?
Why you gotta scare all the little children with your spooky demon guy?
Well, my children. Was that like fucking Santa Claus?
Hello there, children!
Well, my children.
No, we're not gonna be keeping that up. A giant sleeps in the corners, unknowingly biding its time for just the right moment to wake and change everything. The smaller, lesser creatures of this land who seek to understand and control their surroundings poke and prod at this force of upheaval, wholly ignorant to what outcome there will be. Some of their intentions are selfish, but most are just curious and others are altruistic, hoping that the change brought might point them to solutions for what ails their societies. None of these factions knew, however, that no matter what actions they take, the sands in the hourglass were running thin. Soon change would be upon them whether they liked it or not. All that they could control is if they would allow a reincarnation for their benefit and the benefit of all, or if they would resist in stubborn futility for their own destruction and the hapless collateral damage of all other beings who happen to be nearby. This is the sleeping giant. Ooh, chills, you know? This is the emotion, the essence, and the backdrop that I wanted to keep in mind while working on my painting, The Sleeping Giant. It's a perfectly vague story because it can be applied to so many experiences that we've had as humans throughout our lives in history. But it can also be applied to basically any great force of change throughout the historical record of our entire universe, from the Big Bang to the agricultural revolution. So as a symbol, it serves as a shorthand for everything from greatness to devastation and maintains relevance for every viewer in any time and place. Basically, it's just a way for me as an artist to tell a very vague, barely thought out story and have people think I'm deep. And speaking of depth, I'm using a very sophisticated method of building up layers of texture in dark greens and browns for my background by randomly dabbing at the canvas with an old cut up sock. And once I've built up that background, I can project the star of our show onto the canvas to transfer over my sketch. And in this case, that star is none other than the titular sleeping giant from that story I told a couple minutes ago, fame. The design for this character was heavily inspired by ancient Aztec art. Specifically, it was inspired by a sculpture of the god Tlaloc? 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 Tlaloc.
Actually,
Tlaloc.
just stress a bit more on the first syllable. Tlaloc.
Tlaloc.
Look.
Tlaloc.
English pronunciation.
I think I'm gonna go with Tlaloc. Man, that sounds like some real Lord of the Rings stuff right there. You know, it's like Glaurung or Melon.
It's a riddle.
Tlaloc, according to Wikipedia, the keeper of all knowledge, is the Aztec god of rain, water, and earthly fertility. Though I truly had no idea when I chose the statue for my inspiration, the myths surrounding Tlaloc actually work quite well for telling my story of the sleeping giant. For instance, as the god of rain and water, Tlaloc's blessing allows humanity to harness agriculture, waking the sleeping giant of human society, which in part owes its ability to conquer most of the world and harness its resources and ecosystem to the abundance of food people now possess. However, nature always reminds us that there are forces much greater than our own at play, and in the same way water can bring fertility and abundance, it can also bring massive floods and upheaval, destroying crops and homes and shaking the order that society relies on. Hold up. This is all getting way too grandiose and literate for me. To tell you the truth, and as you could probably tell, I never really meant to depict Tlaloc and tell his whole story, as riveting as it is. He was merely visual design inspiration for my own character and story. And I always thought of my sleeping giant more like a kaiju, this behemoth force of nature that lies dormant deep underground, waiting for human greed to make some great blunder that awakens it, forcing it to come and purge us from the Earth's surface. Now that's a tasty story with some stakes. So let's move away from Mesoamerica and maybe more towards Tokyo. And to conjure up the correct atmosphere for the whole kaiju slumbering deep in the Earth's crust vibe, I painted in some sort of smoke or gas being emitted from vents on the back of the creature that, when paired with the texture of the background, give the illusion of the being possessing the ability to control the climate in its den to maintain its stasis. And utilizing a similar stippling technique, I'll move on to adding texture, highlights, and shadow to the main figure. The main goal in this is obviously to accentuate the form of the character and add depth and presence to their depiction, but if used properly, it can also help to display the massive scale of it without any other reference points needed. I mean, after all, this boy's gotta be big! Giant's right there in the title. So to begin hinting at that scale, I'll use a desaturated bluish-green shadow color to offset the bright red and set the elements further back into the green background, as if there's a substantial amount of atmosphere between you and this figure towering above you. And then in the body that I've already filled in black, I'll use that same shadow color to light the form from below, making it look as though it's too distant to make out any details, getting lighter towards the horizon line, as if its arms were faraway mountains. Then with a much darker black, I'll cut in all my outlines for the character's head and features, pushing the face right into the foreground by giving it the most amount of detail and contrast. This also helps to accentuate that more segmented geometric design style utilized by the Aztec artists that have inspired me so much. It truly humbles me to think of what skill and creativity these ancient artists and storytellers display. I mean, it's far greater than anything I can do with all of human knowledge literally at my fingertips. But what it really shows me is how enduring and integral culture is, and how important art is in creating and remembering that culture. The story here is that we as humans were the sleeping giants, but now we are awake, and as the masters of our domain and the change bringers to everything on this planet, it's up to us what kind of change we want to see. It's up to us to decide what we value and where we want to take this from here. Because we were the sleeping giants, but now we're stabbing at the feet of titans. I started clenching my little fingers on this tiny little mic because it was so friggin' Dramatic. Well, that was a little different from how I usually present the stuff, huh? I wanted to try and go for a more story-driven approach while still letting y'all know what techniques I was utilizing in the piece to get the various looks I was after. And I'm interested to know what y'all thought. So let me know what y'all thought of this presentation style down in the comments below and by liking the video, and if y'all dig it, then I'll make more stuff like this. Also, prints of this piece and a lot of the other paintings I've made on this channel are available on my website modimakes.com alongside clothing, so if y'all like the stuff that I make here, then hey, go check it out, why don't ya? Link in the description. And subscribe and share and bell and boopity boppity. You know, all the stuff, man. All the stuff. Say hey ho, you know, I gotta go, so I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Thanks for watching.